to stop. Of course they don't want to stop. It looks a lot like they're trying to carry that momentum, and we got a lot of big titles hitting us in the first half of the next year. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, the top 10 new games of the first half of 2024. Starting off with number 10, it's Tekken 8, which is a massive, big ol' thing. It's the first high-profile fighting game to use Unreal Engine 5. It is the first Tekken game to use Unreal Engine 5, and it is a hell of a look. Wowie. Tekken 8 is technically incredible looking, but it's also a Tekken game, so that means it's probably a very good fighting game. Tekken is fun as hell. Like, it's, since its introduction, always been a game that people love. I've always come back to Tekken whenever they release a new one, and I'm never disappointed, at least in how the game feels and plays. Sometimes maybe there's some issues surrounding it, but these are smooth, fluid fighting games that I really enjoy and can't wait to dive back into. I won't have to wait too long either. Tekken 8 is landing on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC January 26th. At number 9 is Persona 3 Reload. As you know, Falcon the Game Bird has always been a big Persona fan, and I'm quite excited for a remake of Persona 3. It has been a long time since I've played Persona 3. I mean, I did kind of play the re-release here recently, but I didn't really beat it because I knew this was on the horizon. It's essentially Persona 3 and Persona 5 quality, and I'm there. It takes nothing to get me in the door on that. I mean, they've really done a lot here. Unfortunately, it does mean some of the content that was added after, like the female protagonist or the epilogue chapter, that stuff's not there, but they have redone all of the animated cutscenes, and it really is like Persona 3 at Persona 5 quality. Apparently, there's going to be a lot more environmental stuff you can do too. They haven't altered any of the dialogue or that kind of stuff, but I mean, come on, why wouldn't you want to play this if you're a Persona fan? Or just a fan of these kind of like weirdo, goofy ass, let's talk about society, but let's do it through the lens of a bunch of crazy crap. Oh, and also, like, you have to go to school and crap, and it's weird. Also, I mean, everything about Persona is super weird. It's heightened to a degree where I'm sure it probably turns some people off, but these are interesting games, to say the very least. I'm excited for this. It's coming to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC February 2nd. At number 8 is Alone in the Dark. So what is regarded as perhaps the progenitor of Resident Evil is being brought back in the very same way that Resident Evil 2 and 3 were so incredibly successful. In fact, the developers, Pisces Interactive, were brought in by THQ Nordic to, in a lot of ways, attempt to replicate the successes of those games. Much like those games, it takes the fixed camera tank-controlled Alone in the Dark and makes it into a third-person, over-the-shoulder, much more modern experience. Now, I'm personally very excited for this. If you want to kind of see how it works, there's a demo out right now called Grace in the Dark. It's a prologue chapter. It kind of sets you up with expectations as to what this exactly is going to be. I think it really does a good job showing that this is going to be a great remake. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be pretty big. It's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC March 20th. And number 7 is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, I absolutely want to note that this is maybe a controversial pick, but we're talking about big games that people are going to talk about a lot, and whether this ends up a bad live service style game, even if it's not necessarily a live service game by the time it comes out, or if it turns out to be very good, I think people are going to talk a lot about it. I obviously hope for the latter. This is the last Batman performance by Kevin Conroy, and it's a dark one from the looks. The game is set in the Arkhamverse, however, it takes place in Metropolis, and all of the real big, great superheroes have been taken over by Brainiac, and it's your job to kill all of them. I, like I said, really do hope that this turns out to be a good game. The idea is honestly not something we've ever really been able to play, like superhero hunting. That's potentially quite good, but also given Gotham Knight and all the live service stuff, there is good reason to be skeptical about this. So good to note, great potential, also potential to be a big flop. Either way, we're all going to be talking about it a whole lot. It's landing on the PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on February 2nd. And number 6 is Skull and Bones. I mean, allegedly, we're actually going to get Skull and Bones. They've been advertising it pretty heavily. I've been seeing commercials for it. This game's been in development hell for a long-ass time. This was originally developed as an expansion for Assassin's Creed Black Flag as a spin-off MMO called Black Flag Infinite. That was way back in 2013. This project has also been a money hole, allegedly costing over $120 million. But over the last year, there have been a couple of closed betas, and people have come away from them weirdly optimistic about the game. A lot of the time, this type of thing happens over a decade, and then, you get something like Duke Nukem Forever. But apparently, people are thinking that it's actually a pretty fun game with a surprisingly decent story. Now, I can't comment as to the validity of this information. I did not play the betas, but I'm not as iffy about this. I mean, I've seen a lot of game footage, and it looks fun. I think the reason why we all wanted this game in the first place was because the ship combat in Black Flag was quite good, and it looks quite good here. Now, there is bound to be some degree of confusion because this game has existed for a very long time, and there have been a few different ideas as to what this was supposed to be, but it looks pretty straightforward to me from the gameplay, and it looks pretty fun. I'm excited to give it a whirl, and if it's as fun as it looks, I think that we've got a winner. Skull and Bones is landing on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC February 16th. And number 5 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Disc 2 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you liked the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it looks like it's a much bigger, more advanced version of it. For instance, the synergized mechanic is now a part of the main battle system. The main battle system, I of course gave a lot of praise for the first time around. I'm happy they have retained it rather than attempt some big change in that. I think it's a large part of Remake's identity because it does so much in retaining a lot of the elements of the original turn-based system in what is more or less an action RPG format. In all seriousness, this is gonna be a great game. I like what they did with the first game. I like that they kind of made it so you don't really know what's going to happen because this is some part of a time loop in some way. And I think that that is a fun and interesting idea that kind of toys with the idea of a remake while also allowing us to have a remake. Probably the most interesting events in the entirety of the Final Fantasy VII narrative are pretty close on the horizon too. So I'm just really interested to see how this version plows through them, especially given the idea that
we have Survival Nation Mobile, which is an online RPG open-world survival game set in a post-apocalyptic world. You'll play as one of the zombie apocalypse survivors who has to cooperate with other members of the survival camp. You can explore the vast and dangerous world, kill hundreds of zombies, acquire weapons and resources, craft items, build shelters, and trade with other players too. Survival Nation Mobile is a thrilling and immersive game that'll challenge your survival skills and test your strategic thinking too. Number 3. UCSD2 Car Driving Simulator. Now, many of you must have already played a popular game called Ultimate Car Simulator at some point, but recently the developer of this game has released the second part of the game, where they improve the overall graphics, and instead of the plain map like the first game, this time they improve the surface and map size of the game. Here, you'll drive different varieties of cars and explore different environments, participate in different events, and do a lot of stunts during the gameplay. However, the game also features cops which will try to catch you if you do something wrong. But the biggest con I found about this game is that it required an internet connection, which I don't think is reasonable. Number 2. Ronin: The Last Samurai. This is a game where you play as a Ronin, a samurai without a lord who seeks revenge for his master's death. The game features an ink and wash painting style, a simple but challenging combat system, and various skills and equipment to unlock. You will have to fight against enemies, including soldiers, bandits, wolves, and even other Ronin, all using only your sword, your posture, and your timing. The game is a roguelite, meaning that you will lose some progress when you die, but you can also improve your character and try again. Number 1. One Punch Man World. This game is absolutely a good time, especially if you're a fan of One Punch Man or third-person action RPGs, and even better if you love both. The combat is fun and engaging, and the different characters have unique playstyles that encourage different ways of tackling the same enemy. It's like a lighter version of the Soul series with similar mechanics like the iframe dodge, but way less punishing. The best part is the only content behind a paywall is certain characters, but there's lots of missions, bosses, and characters that don't require any money at all. So yeah, I'm enjoying playing the game a lot. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and find something new. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more awesome games. While waiting for the next edition, you can also check out these other videos on the screen where I show you other amazing games that I think you're gonna love.